What are the top 5 most mentioned HVAC issues when it comes to home inspections in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area? That is the question we are going to answer. Hey, what's up? It's me, Haley Jones, your local Knoxville and East Tennessee real estate agent. This video is a part of a series. There is one on plumbing, there's one on structural components, there's one on exterior findings, there's one on radon, appliances, new construction home inspection. I mean, all the things, okay? Roofing, you know what I'm saying. But in this video, we are talking specifically about HVAC, so your heating and cooling systems in your home. Now, how did we do this? I pulled 150 past home inspection reports. And then my team and I analyzed those 150 and we found what are most common in each of the major areas of a home inspection. So as I mentioned, today we're talking about HVACs. If you want to know about crawl spaces, if you want to know about plumbing, just go watch those. It's thrilling, it's fascinating. Now, I also want to tell you, I'm not a contractor, I'm not a plumber, I'm not a roofer, I'm not an electrician, none of those things. Okay, so some of you watching this, you may be those things, and you're like, "Oh, you sound like a dumb." Okay, well, I'm not an HVAC specialist, so let's just get that out of the way right now. Now, I know enough to advise my clients, and I know enough to say, "Hey, we need to have a second look at that." So just keep that in mind. I don't need to be the expert. I need to be able to advise my clients, which is what I do. So, anyways, the whole purpose is really just to give you kind of a if you're buying in the East Tennessee and Knoxville area, here are things that pop up with HVACs. And if you're selling or thinking about selling, maybe some of these things that could be addressed before a buyer steps foot in your house, and most importantly, before an inspector comes to your house. If you can fix it before it's an issue and causes worry, that's what we want to do, right? So anyways, let's get going. I made myself out of breath. Okay, number 1. Most common HVAC finding. So by the way, it's 150 reports, 257 line items related to HVAC. So about 1 per report, which actually I would have thought would be more. But anyways, it's just 257, about 1 per report on average, right? Now, obviously it's an average. Some of them have 10 and some have none. Okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying. Okay. Number 1. Condensate drain discharge issues, especially draining too close to the foundation. This happens constantly. New construction, a home built in 1942, across the gamut. Condensate line draining too close to the foundation. Okay. Condensate drain outlet cannot be located. So say, for example, you can't find where the condensate line is, which would imply hey, it's leaking out somewhere. We don't know, and we need to know where it's leaking out. When I say leak, I mean it's dripping, right? Like it's condensating. But if we can't find it, how do we know it's not actually causing a leak? You know what I'm saying? Condensate drain connected to a waste line. Some people largely care about this. Some people do not care. There's some implications here. Again, I'm not a plumber or an HVAC person, but that is not appropriate per the home inspector. Condensate traps exposed or uninsulated. This is another common one where there's an insulation issue, which you don't want because you don't want freezing. You know what I'm saying? So condensate drain discharge issues. That was number 1. Number 2, missing or damaged refrigerant line insulation. Foam sleeve pulled back or missing. So foam insulation sleeve on the larger refrigerant line is damaged or missing. And you can go and I've provided some images. These are from Google, by the way. I just Googled it. But you can see it's the line coming out. There is no insulation. It's not protected. Exposed copper tube, which is not ideal. That's a condensation risk. So essentially, a lot of times you actually see where the foam sleeve is torn. You can see it not missing, but I feel like a lot of times it looks like a dog's been chewing on it. It just looks like, oh, we need to replace that. Now this is an issue. Both of these actually, if your drain condensate line is dripping literally at the foundation of your house, you can just put one of those little diverter things under it, and it it pushes it away, diverts it away from the foundation. That's fixable. The second one is also fixable. If the refrigerant line is missing insulation, what could you do? You could add insulation. You know what I'm saying? And then as a seller, you don't even have to read this nonsense. Just saying. Now, will some buyers care? No. Will some buyers care? Yes. So just keep in mind, if there's items that you can address before you list your home for sale, I keep saying this every freaking one of these videos, then just do it beforehand. Like, come on. Come on. Okay, number 3, missing condensate overflow safety. So the float switch, the drain pan, or shut off device, something's not working. So basically, something's not working when that pan gets full. It's missing in the float that's like, oh, I shouldn't be floating. This is a problem. Or there's no pan. Therefore, if there is water, like it's leaking. So this is relatively common. Not a huge thing that I see, but this is one that people, especially if the pan is missing, buyers tend to be like, oh God. Air handler does not have a condensate overflow shut off device. So if something does overflow and there's no shut off anything, that's not good. No drain pan, as I said, overflow pan issues. So this could be, the note here is like insulation inside of the pan. So the pan should just literally be there to catch overflow. Now, let me tell you this. If you are a seller and you know that your pan fills up, have someone come fix that, because buyers are gonna see that while they're touring the home, much less a home inspector. So like there shouldn't be standing water in that overflow pan. Something is amiss. So you can get that fixed beforehand. And again, we can avoid any of these issues. Just have it repaired before you go on the market, if you can. And there's also things like that. If you're like, oh, hell no, I don't want to do anything, I'm walking away, like we're done, it's as is, then your pricing is going to reflect that, right? But if you're wanting like this immaculate situation and everything is fixed, then fix it. Okay. Number 4, ductwork defects. Constantly, we see this, especially older ducting. Air leaks, poor sealing, damage or disconnection. That happens more than you know, where the HVAC or the ductwork is like completely disconnected in the attic. And you're like, what's happening here? Missing insulation or issues with the air returns. Okay, and this includes air leaks at the cabinet or duct joints uncaulked. So places where the joints are not sealed on the ducting. Damage or disconnected ducts on ground, poor support. So my best example is for this is like if you're looking at an old 1970s house and you can see the old original ducting, and like if you touch it and it's like pokes right through, that's not good. Supply return or ducts are uninsulated. Basically, anything that's uninsulated is going to have a condensation problem or some sort of energy loss, essentially, is the inspector's note there on that one. Makeshift returns, missing returns pulling moistures or odors, dust debris, or microbial growth in ducts. Now, let me tell you this about air returns. Put a new filter in, or at least have something relatively new. I was in a house a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. There was this weird sound. It was like, I can't reproduce the sound. Okay. There was a sound. And I thought these people have like a sound machine going, or they have like some kind of dehumidifier. Like it was a constant sound. Okay. My buyers get there and they're like, what's that noise? And I was like, I think they have a dehumidifier. Like there's something running, air sounding, like a machine. So we walk around, blah, blah, blah. I realize it's the air return. And I'm just thinking, what's going on here? So long story short, the air filter, as I'm making this video, it's January of 2026, okay? So just keep that in mind. The date on the filter, if it was correct, I'm assuming it's correct because why else would you put this on there? It said 6/2017. No. That's bad, okay? So of course it was freaking full. It was disgusting, but also it had collapsed in. So like the air filter was being sucked back through the ducting. No, that's not good, and that's completely avoidable. And that's gonna come up. Okay, that's not good for your HVAC system, first of all. But second of all, come on. Like, yes, life gets busy. I understand that. I'm just saying this is again an avoidable issue. So things with your air returns and your air registers. Another thing is air registers. There shouldn't be suckers and marbles and socks and shoes down them, especially if they're in the floor and they're in the kids' playroom. If you're a seller, that's an easy thing to address beforehand as well, okay? You also, on the new construction side, will sometimes see where an inspector has found there's stuff down, there's dust, debris, dirt from construction down the air register. Also not good, because the air register is going to be blowing air, right? Which means it's going to be blowing that dust and all that construction stuff, whatever. You don't want that. So anyways, that is a common finding on the ductwork. Typically disconnected ductwork, you wouldn't know that unless you're just in your crawl space or in your garage, or like you're within the walls, within the structures. If you're within the attic, you wouldn't know that your ducting is disconnected. And most on the buy side, when a buyer asks for this, a seller pretty much always does it. It's a common sense, like not a huge repair, but it is an important repair, because you want your HVAC system to be efficient, right? And also your HVAC system is related to ventilation and air moving through the house. We want to avoid things like microbial growth and other unnecessary air-related issues. Okay, let's move on. Number 5 has to do with HVAC performance. Low AC temperature split. So basically the split is not appropriate from the register to the return. Compressor or condenser fan not operating, or the fan is just seized up. We see that, I don't see that a ton, but I could see where it's like one of the top HVAC issues. Thermostat's not functioning. Now, here's the thing. If you have a smart thermostat on the sell side, sometimes an inspector will say the thermostat's not working. Well, actually, it's no shade to the home inspector, to user error. We have all these freaking smart thermostats where you got to push the button and wink 3 times and like hold your teeth just right, and then you get it to work. Well, an inspector doesn't have time for all that. Okay, so if you have a complicated thermostat and you're a seller, you want no problems, and you're going to leave directions with how to operate the thermostat. So that's just a side note. Just keep that in mind. Condensate pump not functional overlaps with that condensate category. So essentially it's not properly pumping out your condensation as it should be. Something else that I want to mention when it comes to HVACs that is not on this analysis at all. But sometimes you'll see where the inspector's like, I could not check the heat. Well, if it's 95 degrees outside, they cannot inspect the heat. Vice versa, you'll see air conditioning could not be inspected. Well, if it's 25 degrees outside, they can't inspect it because they don't know if it's like the outside elements. You know what I'm saying? So that is normal. That is normal. So just keep that in mind. Some honorable mentions from this analysis of these 150 inspection reports related to HVACs. Age or service life and maintenance gaps. So in an ideal world on your HVAC system, you have like a sticker that says when it was serviced. Now on the buy side, I just want to tell you, this is rare. Rare do you see this? It is rare that you see it, is what I'm saying. On the sell side, if you have been diligent enough to do that, great for you. A second great thing would be if you've kept your maintenance records on your system, especially if your HVAC system is older. A lot of times, the thing about when an inspector says, this is like near the end of its life, or the age of it is old. We can't tell if it's been maintenance or whatever. That's always a red flag, because HVAC systems are expensive. So much so that now people are leasing them. And that's a whole other category for a whole nother issue, a whole nother time. But on the sell side, if your HVAC system is flagged as old, that is alarming for a buyer. And on the buy side, if it's flagged as old but working properly, when you ask for a new HVAC, that is seen as an improvement and not a repair. So just some things to keep in mind there. You can always say, hey, have it maintenance. Show us how you had it maintenance. Show us the proof that it's working properly, that you have maintained it. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, another honorable mention is furnace flue or fire hazards. This is often, we saw this also on the plumbing video related to the water heater and the flue touching combustible stuff. So flue touching combustible, sagging, incorrect foil tape, access blocked. So if stuff is touching your furnace that shouldn't be, like, you can fix that. And on the buy side, that's going to be alarming, because on that inspection report, it's going to say it's a safety issue. Okay. So you're going to see that and you're going to freak out a little bit. And you're going to be like, hold on here. This can be fixed for the most part. Dirty filters or soiled coils. This one is, again, completely avoidable. Replace the filters, period. On the sell side. On the buy side, again, a dirty filter. I mean, people live how they live, okay? So if that's going to be the thing that is going to stop you from buying a house, then maybe, you know, it wasn't the one. Because there's things that are much more huge of issues than a soiled filter. Now, could it indicate other issues, bigger issues? Yes. But if it's just like, hey, the filters need to be replaced, like, you know, something to think about. So in general, our top 5, in summary, not in general, I should say, in summary, number 1 was the condensate drain discharge issue. So things like the condensate drain line was draining at the foundation. Easily can be fixed, could be something addressed before you list your home for sale. And on the buy side, again, it could be an easy repair. Refrigerant line insulation missing or damaged. Typically, as I said, this is like foam missing from the line. That is another easy fix. Missing overflow shut off or pan float switch. So there's something going on with your overflow pan. There should be no debris in your pan, and also there shouldn't be standing waters either. And if it is overflowing, you do want something to say, hey, I'm overflowing. So that's why you want that to be working. Ductwork defects, leaks, gaps, unsealed areas. Ductwork, it should be fixed, whether you're buying or selling, in my personal opinion. Some people don't care. Just depends. And again, it depends on the context of the house. If it's an as-is house that you're just accepting for what it is, that's one thing. If it's a pristine new construction house, that's another. Okay. Number 5, performance or operability problems with the system itself. Something's not running, the compressor's not working, the fan isn't working, and something's not working. Differences from register to return and temperature that shouldn't be there. All of those things, those are your top 5 most common related to HVAC issues. Now, I want to say this again, HVAC, you got to have it here in Tennessee, okay? We're not one of these places where you don't need a heat, okay? And or you don't need air conditioning. You need them, okay? Just trust me. It gets humid here in the summer, and in the winter it does get cold, and you need both of them. So don't let anyone tell you don't need those things, because you do. In my personal opinion, all right? So, of course, if you have questions, please reach out. Also, click subscribe, because I have so much more to share with you. I'm curious if you've been following this series, which is the most interesting to you, because I think the plumbing one is fascinating. But I mean, you know, what do I know? So anyhow, let me know your thoughts. I'm Haley Jones, and I'll see you on the next